I spoke in a previous video about the Moria men's refugee camp on the Greek island of Lesvos, off the coast of Turkey. This refugee camp was run like a prison with double chain link razor wire fences and people living in tents in the yard. This generally low standard of living led these single men to seek any other place to live that they possibly could, and so they ended up settling in this series of abandoned warehouses ran by European anarchists called No Borders Kitchen. After bouncing around from a few different locations on the Greek island, they settled on this series of abandoned warehouses because it was in a particular process of foreclosure where no one was immediately going to be able to evict them, and they had been in this particular set of warehouses for almost a year, poaching electricity and water from the grid. They were subject to regular police raids, but were able to continuously maintain this communal setting for the people overflow from the Moria men's camp. Since there were so many different rooms and sections of these different warehouses, people were able to gather together based on their country and language of origin, and it gave people a sense of community and citizenship that they didn't have at the Moria camp. No Borders was able to set up a classroom in the warehouses for teaching language and helping people with asylum applications. They followed up on people that were detained by the police, and they make a safe environment for people to make a comfortable routine and a home without regulation. No Borders Kitchen gave them the opportunity to cook and eat communally together the traditional food that they would have made at home. When they were living in the Moria refugee camp, the men were provided with food that was cooked off-site and brought in by a local Grecian business. Each refugee then received 90 euros a month from the United Nations, which they used to purchase a little bit of additional food to supplement the meals that they were receiving from the refugee camp. With the economy of scale of being able to pool their money at the No Borders Kitchen, people were able to buy food in bulk and ended up producing a greater quantity of food with a much higher quality than they were able to obtain at the refugee camps. Even with almost zero external funding, the Anarchist collective, improvised refugee camp and a series of abandoned warehouses was able to create a much higher standard of living than was accomplished at any of the refugee camps on the island. Aside from just serving as an overflow from the Moria men's camp, it also served as a place for men to meet up with family members that they had been separated from that were living at the Karatepe camp for families, literally right next door to the No Borders Kitchen. We were able to get a volunteer position inside the UN-run Karatepe camp for families, but it was strictly forbidden to take any pictures or videotape while on the inside. The older temporary dwellings were in the process of being torn down and thrown away, so I scavenged the material and made a procedural video showing how to take apart and manipulate the material to create other objects. NT found traditional decorative designs and stenciled them onto the buildings. The Karatepe Family Camp and the No Borders Anarchist Collective are trying to provide improvised communities for an endless onslaught of refugees. Both camps are situated on a beach that receives a ceaseless flow of rafts. And both camps look out over the water at the hills of Turkey and at the edge of a mass migration fleeing an entire civilization that is now in ruins.